This video is going to show you how to add your explanation of evidence to your presentation slides. You are going to be adding this after each piece of evidence in the speaker's notes. So you're going to add a space for this. And you can see in my example that I have done that after each of my pieces of evidence. And you are making commentary that tells what the evidence means in relation to your research question and why the evidence matters in relation to your research question. So you're making an inference and you're explaining the significance. It should be longer than the evidence itself. Ideally, you want it to be double the length, but anywhere that you can get between that's longer to up to that point is really good. You don't want to summarize or restate what the evidence says, and you also don't want to simply state what you think it shows without explaining in detail your thinking behind how the evidence does indeed show that. You were given ways to start on the using informational text as evidence handout. That was a dark blue handout that you received in class. You can consider explaining things like how your personal experience or observations of the world illustrate the idea in the example, what side of the debate on the topic it supports. You can talk about what you can infer or conclude based on the evidence. You can give more detail about why or how. Those are kind of the directions you can go in terms of significance. But the good news is you shouldn't have to think too hard at this because you should have already done this when you did your source notes. This was the I say part of what you wrote on each sticky note. So you can see here on my example that I have a pretty lengthy I say section. This is my commentary. So all you really need to do is find your I say on your sticky note, and you need to add it in the space for your explanation of evidence. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. If for some reason you didn't do the source notes or you didn't do that part of the source notes, you're going to need to come up with that commentary now, and you probably want to start with that the handout on lead-ins for commentary, or starters for commentary. And that is linked right here on the slides in the instructions for the assignment. So like I said, I am just going to use what I have in my source notes, what I've already prepared, and I'm going to type it right in. So that should be all you have to do, and then you should be pretty much done with this step. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So as you can see, I've typed in my commentary from my sticky notes for both of the pieces of evidence that I used for my first subtopic. So you're just going to go ahead and repeat that process for your other two main point slides, adding an explanation of each of the pieces of evidence that you added to those. And then you'll be done with this step.